With a harsh voice, my mother-in-law confronted me and said, "I know you cheated. Give the property to the divorced as alimony." However, my mother-in-law is illiterate. She has no notion who should be paying alimony in the first place, and she doesn't even identify the man who is standing directly in front of her. I showed the lawyer what was on my phone in order to tell the truth. Observe this. The roles will now reverse. Hannah is my name. Ethan and I have been wed for 3 years. I married him because I was drawn to his goodness and gentleness. Ethan's mother lavished affection on him as an only child, and it now appears that he has many spoiled behaviors. It was evident how much his mother had spoiled him after we were married. The greatest food must be served at the wedding. He mentioned it as we were getting ready for our wedding. However, if we increased the food, we would go over budget and would have to make other cuts. "Ethan, I get it, but we also need to consider the budget," I said. "This time, let's drop the food grade somewhat." I told him that, and he seemed genuinely unhappy. As soon as my mother-in-law, Heather, noticed his annoyance, she stepped in. "Hannah, what are you talking about? It makes perfect sense for us to choose the greatest cuisine, as Ethan mentioned." Heather consistently takes Ethan's side in situations like these. However, how is the budget doing? We may just make savings elsewhere, such as on the wedding gown or decor. Then, with a worried face, Ethan added his own solution to the dilemma. "Mom, hold on. We absolutely shouldn't lower that budget, since the venue would look awful if we save on the decor." Heather concurred with him right away. "You're accurate. How wise you are, Ethan. Thus, we will just need to reduce Hannah's outfit budget." Indeed, that does make sense. Furthermore, Hannah looks amazing in everything. They spoke as though it was settled beforehand. I tried on this dress several times before settling on it, and it was my favorite. Ultimately, though, I had to forfeit my desire for the dress and divert the funds to the catering and decor instead. Heather continued to get in the way of our discussions anytime we had a disagreement as a couple, even after the wedding, and when we began our lives together. She phoned us, for example, when we were preparing to purchase a home, since up until that point, we had been renting an apartment. "Hannah, I understand you intend to construct a new home." "Oh, did you hear from Ethan?" "Yes, we recently signed the deal and discovered a wonderful piece of property close to the station. Right now, we're just getting started on the house design. The location was revealed by Ethan, but isn't it a bit much for the two of you?" I quickly added, but if we have kids in the future, our family will grow, so I wanted to make sure we have enough room, because I was afraid she might recommend we all live together. "Children? Is that a sign that you're expecting?" She snapped at the idea of kids. "Well, I was referring to a future date. Don't raise false expectations in my mind. I know I can rely on Ethan to take care of things, even if you decide to construct a new home. Hannah, please watch out so that you don't become too involved." "Yes, I do comprehend." I sighed deeply as I immediately hung up the phone after responding incoherently. It appears that she will also want to have a big say in the new house designs. I really need to chat to Ethan, but he's been returning home so late these days that we hardly have time to catch up. Usually, I go to bed before he does, but that particular evening, I stayed up to talk to his mother about the circumstances. Upon arriving home, he appeared surprised to discover me still awake. "What is happening? Are you still awake?" "Yes, I wanted to discuss something with you." I saw something as soon as I sat down in front of him. "Hey, Ethan, didn't you say you and your coworkers were going out to drinks tonight?" "Yes, it is correct." "But you don't smell at all like alcohol." I bent down to take a whiff, but instead of alcohol, I detected a subtle, pleasant smell coming from his suit. In a hurry, he shoved me fast away. To get sober, I had a burger. Because I'm tired, I'm going to take a bath. After that, he rushed to use the restroom. I had a suspicion that he was concealing something. Something told me to take quick action. He had left his phone in the toilet, which I stealthily snatched. Naturally, it was locked. However, I knew that Ethan wouldn't use a complex passcode. When I entered his birthday, the lock unlocked with ease, just as I had anticipated. What's this? Numerous loving texts that he had exchanged with another woman were stored in his phone. Not to be forgiven. I immediately synchronized his phone with mine to keep an eye on his communications as well. A buddy had mentioned sync tools to me casually, but I never thought they would come in handy in this particular circumstance. I discreetly replaced his phone and then proceeded to the bedroom to check his texts. That's when I found out that, for the previous year, he had been surreptitiously seeing another lady while posing as an employee. You're really brave. If Ethan chooses to play it that way, I immediately contacted a friend from college. Hello, Benjamin. It's been a while, but could we meet up sometime soon? The next day, Ethan went to work as if nothing had happened, completely unaware that I had seen the contents of his phone. He continued coming home late, just as he always did, claiming he was working overtime. But now I knew the real reason why. I began meeting up with Benjamin whenever Ethan stayed out late. On this particular day, Ethan had left the house, saying he had to work on the weekend, as usual. I arranged to meet Benjamin, and as we walked quietly together, I suddenly heard someone call out from behind us. That was my mother-in-law, Heather. Heather, what are you doing here? That's my line. What are you doing here? Who is this man? No way. Are you having an affair? No, it's not what you think. Shut up. I can't believe you would betray my precious Ethan like this. Heather took me and Benjamin home with her on the spur of the moment. I caught you cheating on my precious son, and you can't get away with it. You better be prepared for the consequences. Heather's intensity made Benjamin go quiet. I just called a lawyer. I know, so stay here quietly. Heather stared at us, making sure we didn't try to escape. When the lawyer arrived, Heather began to explain dramatically. Listen to me. My daughter-in-law was having an affair with this man in broad daylight. How ungrateful can she be with a husband as fine as my son? The lawyer looked at Heather calmly and asked, How can you be sure this is definitely an affair? Heather responded with conviction. They were on a date together, and I saw them near the station. It's obvious they were sneaking around wearing hats and sunglasses near the station. Well, that does not conclusively prove cheating, the lawyer said. What? Why not? Heather demanded. For a moment, Heather looked disheartened, but then her eyes brightened as if she had just thought of something. Hannah, show me your phone. What? I replied, bewildered. There must be evidence on your phone. Show it to me. Heather insisted. She snatched the phone from me and handed it to the lawyer. I felt cornered but resolute. I turned to my lawyer and said, I'm not going to let them get away with this. Okay, I understand, he said. You can examine all the contents of my phone. We have nothing to hide. I handed over the password to my lawyer and asked him to review the contents. The lawyer meticulously checked each application, his hand moving slowly until he eventually stopped. Heather's hopes rose at his serious expression. This is it. You finally found evidence of an affair, she exclaimed, rubbing up against the lawyer. If you've got proof, then we need to talk. Hannah, you're divorcing Ethan. Well, Heather, calm down and listen to me, I said. It's too late for excuses now. Hannah, Heather interrupted, that's not enough alimony. Ethan and I will take the land you bought in front of the station." She said this with a proud smile, then turned to her lawyer, expecting support for her claim. "Make sure you get your fee from this cheater," Heather demanded. But the lawyer hesitated, clearly uncomfortable. No mercy. Cheating on your spouse is the lowest thing a person can do. We're not reducing the alimony by a single cent. That's not the case here. It's not your daughter-in-law who's been unfaithful. It's your son." "What? What are you talking about?" "The messages we found on your daughter-in-law's phone are proof of your son's affair. He's the one who will have to pay alimony." "What?" She snatched the phone from the lawyer and looked at the messages. "These are Ethan's messages." Just as she was processing this, Ethan walked in. "I'm home. What's going on here?" He froze in shock, seeing his mother and two strangers in the house. Heather approached him, holding my phone. "Ethan, what is the meaning of this? Isn't that Hannah's phone? Why are my messages on it? So it really was you who sent these?" "No, wait, Hannah, it's not what you think." He tried desperately to explain, but it was already too late. He continued to defend himself, saying I was just messing around. "Ever since we got married, Hannah hasn't respected me. And these messages were just a way to relieve stress. This isn't proof of an affair." As usual, Heather quickly took his side. "That's true. Ethan has been under a lot of stress from work. He's practically the victim here." "Exactly. And who are these people anyway?" Heather suddenly remembered the situation and said, "That's right. Forget about those messages. I caught Hannah in the act with this man. She's the one who should pay alimony. Ethan, you should divorce her immediately, and we'll build a house on that land and live together." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Huh? Heather, how blind can you be?" "Excuse me." They made plans to meet and even discussed what happened afterward in those messages. How can you not see that your son is the one who's been cheating? So what? That doesn't give you the right to cheat too. Even if Ethan did cheat, you're just as guilty. Unlike Ethan, I have nothing to hide. Then who is this man? You wouldn't be sneaking around in disguises if you weren't cheating. You're wrong. He's a private investigator. We went to college together, and he's been helping me gather evidence of Ethan's affair. Finally, Benjamin spoke up. Ideally, I should have done the investigation alone, but Hannah insisted on being there to see the affair with her own eyes. Since getting spotted by her husband would have blown our cover, I had her wear a disguise. Normally, private investigators don't use such obvious disguises. Hearing this, Ethan turned pale. "A private investigator? How long have you been watching me?" I looked at Ethan and said, "Since the day you came home smelling like perfume. That's when I checked your phone and confirmed the affair. But no matter how many messages I collected, they weren't enough to be definitive proof. So I asked Benjamin to help me catch you in the act with your lover." I pulled out several photos of Ethan from my bag. Thanks to that, I've gathered plenty of evidence. With these, we can prove the affair, right? The lawyer, suddenly addressing the situation, quickly regained his composure and answered, "Yes. With these photos and the messages, there's no way to deny it. So we can file for divorce and demand alimony, right?" "Absolutely. Wait, don't talk about alimony like that. We're still husband and wife, aren't we?" I immediately cut him off. "You're the one who betrayed me and had an affair. I can't stay married to you. You're really going to throw away our marriage over one mistake. Mom, say something." His mother, of course, sided with him. "That's right. A marriage shouldn't be so easily broken. You're overreacting. Hannah, divorce over an affair? That's ridiculous. Overreacting? Just a moment ago, you said that cheating on a spouse is the lowest thing a person can do. Why don't you tell Ethan the same thing? Well, everyone makes mistakes sometimes. Mistakes? Do you really think that excuses it? I fully agree with what you said earlier. Cheating is despicable. After the divorce, I'll be taking the land as part of the alimony. Wait, that land belongs to me and Ethan. Didn't you say that the land wouldn't even cover the alimony? Since the lawyer is already here, let's have you sign an agreement right now. I want a legally binding document to make sure there's no escape. Heather, trapped by her own words, fell silent. Ethan, seeing his mother unable to speak, started to panic. Mom, why aren't you saying anything? You're supposed to be on my side. I looked at Ethan and firmly told him, don't think your mom can always protect you. It's time you took responsibility for your own actions. Realizing he couldn't rely on his mother, Ethan suddenly turned to me for support. Hannah, I was wrong. You've opened my eyes. From now on, I won't rely on my mom anymore. Let's start over. Excuse me. What on earth are you thinking? I didn't go through all the trouble of disguising myself and gathering evidence just to wake you up. I did it to make sure the divorce goes smoothly. I collected evidence to ensure I get the alimony you owe for your affair. So you don't love me anymore? Of course not. How could I love someone who cheated on me and betrayed my trust? I then asked the lawyer, by the way, do you happen to have a divorce form with you? To which the rather shocked lawyer answered, well, sure, I do. Your mother-in-law instructed me to bring one for you to sign when she asked me to come today. Heather, thank you. I would be happy to use the divorce documents that you had written. I signed the divorce papers and began the alimony claim procedure with Ethan immediately. There was no way out for him with a lawyer and a private investigator there. I went right away to submit the divorce documents, and I finished the property title transfer with the lawyer's guidance. Although the acreage I was given as part of the settlement is too big for me, I may construct an apartment building and turn my land into a rental property. We should be grateful that Ethan's affair was discovered before we began construction on the house. It appears that Heather finally realized how mistaken her parenting of Ethan was over this entire situation. She brought him back into her house after the divorce and began treating him with a strictness that was very different from how she had previously handled him. These days, my ex-husband has turned into a man who is always concerned about what other people may think of him. That suggests that his partner in the affair has probably already become disinterested in him. He likely doesn't have time to date anyone anyhow because Heather is constantly keeping an eye on him at home. Given Heather's tendency toward obsession, it will take her a while to come to terms with her errors. I realize I didn't need to punish Ethan at all when I consider his future, where he would be enslaved to his mother. From my perspective, this encounter has strengthened my bond with Benjamin. Benjamin hasn't married yet since he finds it difficult to trust individuals after witnessing their darker aspects. Maybe as a result of the fact that I still have trouble trusting men, we both recognize the need of learning from our past failures. I may really need to start again with someone like Benjamin. I can now look forward with hope at last.